Hello everyone, welcome to Seismic Soccer, episode 6. I'm your host Gary, making my hosting debut tonight. And with us we have Colin. How are you doing, Colin?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you? I need to
Uh,
always make sure I ask how people are nowadays.
you learned from the last episode
Yeah.
and some manners. Paul, how you doing?
Not so good. My club's getting beat. My country's getting beat. I'm just on a downer, so I'm not good. But anyway, you all right?
Yeah, all good, cheers. Not much, well, probably a bit better for my club, but still not great. So, and with us this week, we've got Neil and David from We Needed Roads podcast. So, welcome Neil, welcome David. How are you both doing?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no
I mean,
worries.
other than being, an Everton fan, my cross to bear.
You really get something to complain about. Yeah,
Gary, it's only better for your team because Dundee have a rubbish pitch.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be saying that.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, I can't even reply to that. We would be second if it wasn't for that. So yeah, no, welcome Neil, welcome David to the podcast. Great to have you on. Before we get into it, start talking about our podcast. Do you guys want to? You guys are the guests, obviously. Do you want to tell us a bit about your podcast and give it a little plug and tell us yourselves, who you support, all that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure, man. So me and David, like everyone else, we started We Needed Roads during COVID because we used to work in the same office together for a little while, and everyone just said, you guys should do a podcast. And we was like, didn't think anything more of it. And then obviously, COVID happened, so we just started doing it for a laugh. Literally, two guys in our bedrooms, and we've been doing it 3 years now. We've added 2 more co-hosts, so we got Ben, who's a tour manager for loads of bands, which is good for getting the celebrity contacts now, which is quite handy. And we got Jose, who's another guy that I used to work with on. I used to work on cruise ships years ago. Did that for about 7 years, traveling the world as a videographer, which was a pretty sweet job. And of course, David ended up working for the same company at a completely different time, and then me and him ended up working together for a different company at a completely different time as well. So it's bizarre that we all ended up doing the same job.
The same job, just at different times, and didn't know each other. Ended up working for the same company,
same manager,
same manager, everything.
Oh well.
Just missed each other, and then.
But yeah, we're coming up on.
Didn't it, Neil?
Yeah, that definitely did, man. And now we're coming up on 3 years of doing a pod, and we're up to about 93, 94 episodes at the time of recording. So we're no pressure on a 100th episode coming up at all at the minute, where everyone's got stupid ideas of stuff they want to do.
And where does the name come from again? Is it from like Back to the Future?
Yeah. Basically, because when we set it up, all the best Back to the Future puns and names had already been taken. And so we thought, that's clever. And then since the pods kind of took off and kept going, it's like, well, that's the name now. We got to kind of stick with it.
It was one of the biggest mistakes, wasn't it? Like that. I mean, I feel like that's mine to bear. Because I came up with the graphic and all that stuff, and that was me that did the name.
And I was like, if you got graphic,
at the time,
that's what
I thought it was really clever because obviously the famous line is, "We don't need roads," and they go. What year did they go to? Is it 2016, 2015? Something like that. Yeah. We should know that. It's like a Back to the Future relate. Yeah. And We Needed Roads in 2016. It's very witty, guys. I mean, I can see why. Yeah, you didn't get it because it's who the fuck would.
Having said that, it's a really good logo, and David's been working on some more of them, and we have a merch store opening up soon as well. So. Again, because Ben works with bands, he's like, I can sort it out. Like literally, a week later, he's got like a website up and it's got all the t-shirts. We've even got a fucking tote bag you can buy with a logo on it now, which is I don't know. I'm going to buy it for someone and go, hey, there you go, raffle it off or something, give it away to someone, But yeah,
I seen that and it was like releasing on April the 1st, and I was looking at it, I was like, not sure if this is an April Fool's joke or not.
Yeah, we have to we have to definitely make sure every post we put out is this is not an April Fool's joke. Especially if we got a big interview with a film director coming out on that day as well. So it's like, just so people know, neither of these things are a joke. Yes.
Yeah, Ben was very clear about that. Just make sure you post. It's not an April Fool's joke.
If it makes you feel better, I like the name. So.
Oh, cheers, man.
Thank you, my man.
Now you've explained it. I think I quite like it. It's
bad that we have to explain it, though. I think that's the issue there, maybe.
We're actually reviewing Back to the Future in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
we might be as well.
Well, maybe if that's the 100th episode idea, who knows, eh?
Cool.
One of our friends on another pod, Emma over at Verbal Diorama, she's doing her 250th episode in a couple of weeks. And of course, she's doing Back to the Future as well. So just shows you the power of that film, man. Even now, everyone still wants to talk about it and get into it. And also, no one's going to fucking touch it until the guys who made it have died, which sadly, time's getting on a bit. So I think we've probably got maybe another 15, 20 years and then they might try rebooting it again.
Even put that like on
that
it.
high up.
Just leave it. Don't
just leave it.
Not when people die. Just leave it. Untouchable.
Hollywood likes money, David. Hollywood likes money.
Talking about a remake, right?
Whatever bastardization they want to do to it.
I know. Mickey Mouse will probably come along with his bag of money and want to buy it up, but let's
bag of Coke.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, cheers, guys. So we are Seismic Soccer, sister show of Seismic Cinema. So you can follow us on X, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. You can watch and listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the other good places that you would listen to podcasts. James sends his apologies tonight. He can't make it, but he still needs a new mic. So if you want to help him out with that, then
I don't think it's all he needs.
Yeah. New mic, new Wi-Fi. But if you want to help him with the mic, you can donate at Buy Me a Coffee /Seismic Cinema. And we are part of the PodPack collective. So that's where you can find us. And we'll just get straight into the football chat, I guess. That's what we're here for. So, Colin, we'll start with you. You wanted to talk about England and playing the old favourites.
It's just kind of stemmed from the whole Jack Butland incident where,
of course,
he was heavily. Paul, this is my shot. Come on. He was heavily touted to be in the England squad, and a lot of the media were reporting it. But then it kind of all turned out to be untrue, and he wasn't called up. And I think it was Aaron Ramsdale that was called up with Pickford and Sam Johnson, if I'm right in saying. But then Sam Johnson got injured, and they replaced him with James Trafford, who's been absolutely, like, I only watched the highlights for Burnley, but he's made a lot of howlers this season, and he's extremely weak on cross balls. And Jack Butland's still not been called up. So it's that whole refusing to pick players from Scotland despite playing at a high level in the Europa League. But it's not just that, it's also some of the selections. Like, I don't think Southgate, despite his successes with England, is particularly highly liked. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it's a style of play thing, isn't it? He's quite negative, and I think everybody, because we've got this plethora of attacking talent for England at the moment, with the likes of like Saka, Bellingham. Obviously, we've got Harry Kane, Foden. So quite, aside from Kane, quite a young, attacking, talented team. And he's very defensive minded, and that which is just infuriating for a lot of English fans, because there's just no because you like anything. I think like West Ham fans at the moment with David Moyes, they're winning, but they want to see attacking football. It's sort of similar.
Do you not slag David Moyes, man, the Messiah?
But hey, he left you for a bigger and better club. Anyway,
debatable. Man.
But you see, so that's the frustration with Southgate. I mean, I don't think anyone's like proper clamoring Southgate out, because ultimately he's been the most successful English manager in my lifetime. Certainly, it is just that style of play, and I think it stems from England being really lacking at the back. You know, in that goalkeeper position and in those centre-back positions.
What do you mean goalkeeper? Pickford's awesome, man. He made that one mistake in the friendly.
If you guys make for England, I'll give you that.
When was the last time an England keeper won a penalty shootout, Pickford.
What do you guys make of the whole Jack Butland situation? Like,
I didn't even realise there was a Jack Butland situation.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, do you guys... Obviously, I think where Colin, you were kind of going with it, was that England would never pick anybody playing in the Scottish League because of the standard of it, and I think that's what's going to happen here with Jack Butland. Is that something you guys understand, I guess?
I never really thought about it, to be honest, but yeah, I mean, You can see it, can't you? You can see, like, Southgate's not going to go up. Well, he's not going to go up to Scotland, is he? If he can just go around the same few grounds on a Saturday or the weekend, just for, like, a backup keeper.
Has he not got Sky Sports?
With Southgate as well, he'll only ever, he doesn't like pick people in form. He'll pick his tried and trusted
favourites,
his old favourites. Like Henderson, for instance.
What is Henderson doing anywhere near the squad, man? That's the thing, isn't it? Like,
but
he should be.
But that's not based on form. So if there's like a player that's playing for Rangers or Celtic, is absolutely lighting it up. Would he pick him? I'd probably not, because he always goes back to his tried and trusted. Maybe a different manager would, and maybe
I think it's just with like the whole Ramsdale situation with Arsenal this season, which I thought was a bit rubbish to begin with when they brought in the other keeper. But like Burnley have been awful this season, so it's like it's not like they've got a huge amount of options in that position with Nick Pope being injured as well. So it's like, but as you said about Henderson, there's also Phillips, who wasn't getting a look at Man City. He's been pretty bad at West Ham as well. And you've got Maguire when he was out the kind of Manchester United setup. So there's probably about 3 or 4 that are literally just getting in on the kind of old pals act.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say about Trafford. The only thing I would say is, did he not win like under 21s Euros or World Cup or something?
He
with
did,
England. And I think he's not a bad keeper. I know you're saying he's quite weak stature-wise, but I wouldn't say he's awful for Burnley. I think just Burnley
have been awful.
Burnley are awful. Like, so he's facing a lot more shots compared to other keepers, I think. So it looks bad in him, the goals he's conceding, but I don't think necessarily it's all his fault, if you know what I mean, like individual errors. I think he's a decent keeper, but I know what you're saying, like, I'd probably pick Butland over Trafford and Ramsdale just now, just purely based on form, but that's because we've seen him more up here in Scotland-wise. But if you're looking to the future for the Euros, not like Butland's at the other end of his career, whereas Trafford's just starting, so get him in early, build him up that way. That's probably what he's looking at. So
how old is Butland?
He's at 29, 30, which is still relatively young for a keeper.
I think either one of them are going as third choice keeper, aren't they? So I think, Paul, that's a great point. Like, you're looking to the future, you'd go with the younger one, wouldn't you? Like, more often than not, to try and get them out of the squad. And
and like you say, keepers usually get better with age, don't they? They learn from experience. So I mean, I remember Trafford. Did he come from Man City originally?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing he got a game, didn't he? I remember seeing him play once, and he played. There was like an injury or something, or he was playing in some game, or it might have been even the under-21s game. And that's it. When England's under-21s got to the thing, because they were showing him on Channel 4 down here. And I remember everyone's like, "Oh, why is this suddenly on?" Oh, because England's under-21s have got to the final, and he had a cracker of the tournament on there because Bramthwaite was playing in it as well. I mean, that's one thing I can't believe. Bramthwaite picked for those 2 friendlies England just had, didn't get on the pitch. And, you've still got Maguire. Then Maguire got injured in the first game, drops out, and he plays the other player. Dunk comes in the next game. Bramthwaite, who's 21, played every game for us this season. Definitely not going to stay with us in the summer. I hope, if anywhere, he goes off to Real Madrid, because Ancelotti gave him his debut at Everton a few years back. And at least, hopefully, we get 80 million for him as well, which would be nice.
Yeah, him not getting a start in that match was almost insulting a little bit. Like, he's there for the experience of it. To get your first cap 15 minutes into that Belgium game, just throw him on. It's a game that's pretty irrelevant anyway.
Yeah, do you think it was just to get him used to the camp? Because I know, in the Scotland setup, when they bring players in for the first time, they bring them in. They don't really play them for the first couple, the first camp. Say it's just to get him used to the setup, so that he isn't just kind of thrown in. But saying that, they threw Kobe Manu in, didn't they, straight away?
Yeah, and he looked decent, yeah.
I'm just talking Minster.
Yeah, it actually annoyed me how good Kobe Manu looked, because I'm a Liverpool fan, if you can't tell by my really thick Scouse accent. And it pissed me off, because I really want Curtis Jones. I feel like Curtis Jones deserves that England call-up. he's not going to get it. He's not going to be on the plane because he's not had a cap. He's not been called up once. I feel like he deserved it over Mainu, who's played how many games this season? Like 14 games this season. He's like played half the season, and he's just gone like propelled like that. And then when he played in the Belgium match, he lit it up. He
linked up well with Bellingham, didn't he? They both
it pissed me off how good he was.
Both of them should be in over Henderson anyway. Despite what I was saying about Butland, James would agree with me. I'm actually quite glad he didn't get called up because knowing our luck with injuries, he would have got injured like in the warm up or on the training ground. So it's probably for the better that he didn't.
Yeah, like Robertson did. That annoyed me.
Oh yeah, that's tragic. He just keeps getting injured in international duty.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have they said how bad it is? Because it looked pretty nasty.
I haven't heard how bad it is.
Yeah.
Unless you know from the Scottish side of things.
No, just when I was watching it looked pretty bad. The way the boy caught him and his toes kind of caught in the ground, so as if he's flicked his ankle. So I don't know.
Thing is, he's got a bit more competition in Liverpool now with Bradley, John Bradley coming through. That kid's
different
really
side. Yeah, Connor Bradley. Yeah, he's
Alexander Arnold's.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really matter because Alexander Arnold can't defend, so you put him in midfield and went the wing anyway, didn't you?
It's a bit harsh. He can defend.
But he can't.
He can defend better than you can, can't he?
I don't realise
you're not a professional footballer.
Exactly.
Jesus. But did you like the Scotland game the other night where Nathan Patterson, the Everton boy, assisted Connor Bradley, the Liverpool boy, for the goal?
I mean, we get on, don't we, David? You know, Everton,
Liverpool, I feel like we're
co-host.
similar.
Yeah.
You know not to send me too much shit on the day when we've lost the game afterwards or during the game, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's pretty much every game week.
It's a weird thing actually, because like my old man, like you say, he's from Everton in Liverpool, and yet he'll watch every Liverpool game as well because it's more for him about supporting the city as well. Despite like this massive rival, I mean, they would say it's like the friendly derby, didn't they? Because they never used to separate the fans when we were up there, but. Yeah, it's just.
Oh, so he'd support both teams.
Yeah. Like, if Liverpool are playing, if Everton are on, obviously we watch every Everton game. But if Liverpool are playing, he'll watch every Liverpool game as well.
Oh man, I can't imagine somebody in Glasgow supporting Rangers and Celtic.
No, like I don't think that would ever happen in Scotland, would it? No.
No chance. Yeah.
But isn't
that
your
person get locked
rivalry
up?
The biggest rivalry, like in sport, essentially? That Glasgow Celtic rivalry. Is there a bigger rivalry in football?
Well, David, let me tell you about Greenock Morton and St Mirren because.
Okay.
I'm a Paisley boy. I know about that. That can get quite tasty.
Spicy, does it? Gets spicy.
Seen a fair few bricks thrown.
Yeah. No, I don't know if it's the biggest derby in the world, but I think it's got to be up there. I mean,
I can imagine something like a Besiktas against someone or something like that might be.
I'm meant to be quite tasty as well, but yeah. It's definitely a bitter rivalry, you'd say, up here. Yeah, I don't think.
So I think with Everton and Liverpool, it's more on the pitch, isn't it? It's never in the stands. It's always on the pitch. So
yeah, I think like the biggest English rivalry, or Premier League rivalry anyway, at the moment, North London derby, probably. That's always a bit spicy. It's a bit
fun.
Know,
mate. You got Man City, Arsenal coming up at the weekend, haven't you?
Yeah, that's not a rivalry though. That's just
it is when they're going for the title, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not a rivalry. It's just two good teams going at it. You know, it's like the Liverpool City. It's not a rivalry. As much as City fans want to make it, it's not. It's just two good teams going at it. Like
is Man City and Newcastle not a derby, like a Saudi derby?
Battle of the money bags.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Because Newcastle outwardly look like they're not spending all the money and trying to unless they know for their contacts what's going to happen to City in a year or two's time when they finally get bollocked for it all, hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like they got stifled by financial fair play. That they got bought over and they got all the money, and then this financial fair play came, and they were like, "Oh, we can't spend it."
That's why they bought Gordon.
So just going back to the England thing, and so you guys as England fans, how do you rate your chances going into the Euros with Southgate in charge and the tactics and the style of play? Because I think he's got a fantastic generation, of young attacking players, like you said, David. And I just don't know, from my point of view, not an England fan, I don't think Southgate's the guy to get the best out of them or take them to a major trophy. But is that the feeling down in England?
What do you reckon?
I think it's a difficult one because, like you said, he's already done it. I mean, the two friendlies that we've just had, you have to just take them aside because the March friendlies, no one wants them to really even happen at this time of the year, right?
The League of Nations,
bollocks
tournament
no
as
one
well.
cares about these friendlies, really. So if you take them and just take what he's done,
That sounds like a League B team's talking there.
But if you just take what he's done in previous tournaments, he's obviously been.
But is it what he's done, David, or is it just that the players are that good, and they just kind of get out there?
But the players were that good in the golden generation of Gerrard, Lampard, Rooney, Terry, Rio, Ashley. You can name all these players that are all fucking superstars now. Looking back, they didn't do anything. They were nowhere near as good and didn't get anywhere near as far as this England team.
Yeah, but they were
all in England team just that much better, or are they that much more gelled? Is it a combination of everything? And Southgate's managed. Southgate, love him or hate him, he was the one that's done that. He was the one that's gelled them. I think what he's doing is pretty perfect. Give him the chance at the Euros, and then leave
when we don't win it. He
United and continue their downfall. And then we'll bring somebody else in for the World Cup where these young players will be peaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to win it again. What'll happen is England do the same thing every major tournament. Start crap in the group stages, squeak through into the knockout stages, have one really good performance where everyone's like, yeah, we're going to win it. And then we struggle through on a penalty shootout to like a semi or a quarterfinal. And then we go out. Well, bizarrely, in the last sort of like...
Yeah, I was going to say, you're forgetting the Southgate era there. You'll go straight back in time.
Yeah, 96 and all
Capello,
that.
You're going, where we'd struggle through the groups.
But now we have got that. We are a much better team, but when we just, the last couple of times we've just been beaten on the day, haven't we? We've just not been good enough on the day. And was it Croatia knocked us out?
We were better than France. In the France game, we were better than France. We played better than them.
Still lost though, didn't we?
There was just that ridiculous goal from who was it? Tchouameni,
yeah.
From how far out? It's just moments.
I think you called it though, David. We'll get to probably get to the semis again. Like have a good thing, and everyone go, oh well, they did really well, but it's a bunch of young lads and all this stuff that we always get. And then Southgate will quit / get fired and go and take over at Man United and take them down. So yeah, not down, but they won't.
I mean, the second half of that's the dream. But
well, mate, you being a Liverpool fan, are you not massively worried at the minute that when Klopp goes, that it's going to be like when Sir Alex left Man U? That slow decline is going to happen, and all these your generation Liverpool fans, you've just grown up with the success in the last sort of decade or so since Klopp.
I've not grown up with Klopp. I've enjoyed my 20s with Klopp. I've not grown up with him. I lived through the dark times of being a fan, I suppose.
Mate, I've got an autograph on an Everton program from the worst manager we ever had, and I don't think anyone can remember that. Mike Walker. Ring a bell, anyone?
No.
He was Norwich manager. He was Norwich manager in the 90s, and they got into Europe the same season they got relegated, I think, and they beat Bayern Munich in one of the European games in one of the group stages. And everyone was like, great, bring him to Everton. And then I think he lasted half a season because he was that bad till we brought back Howard Kendall for the third time. Yeah. So, yeah. The only autograph I got of an Everton manager is the worst one in our history. Even worse than Lampard's. Sorry, mate?
Better than Agent Rafa?
Oh, Jesus, don't bring him up. It's horrific. What were they thinking? Let's hire a manager that absolutely none of the fans want at all.
Well, see, they're talking about England, and to evolve into this, since you got all this talent, who would you, in an ideal world, have as your manager to bring you on to the next level to win all these trophies that you should be winning with the talent you've got in the field?
Jose?
No.
Klopp.
Klopp. Oh, yeah, Klopp. Wouldn't you? Actually, yeah, even as an Everton, I'd try and get someone like Klopp,
Klopp, he's available. He wants a holiday. He's only got to work how many days a year as a national coach? There's
hopefully he won't pick Henderson because got rid of him. So
pretty perfect job for him. Klopp.
Joe Gomez will be getting starts left, right, and centre.
To be fair, Gomez has been He's normally one of my biggest. Like whenever he comes on, I'm like, oh, don't make a mistake. But he's been solid this season. I feel like he deserved that call up.
He's usually my bet for a yellow card on my Saturday cooking.
Yeah, it's a good bet. That easy go to. But yeah, no, Klopp, 100%, mate. If it can't be for Liverpool, have him in for England. I suppose if they want to go down the English manager again, Eddie Howe's the obvious one, I suppose. But this season he's not been as great as last.
Yeah, I was going to say it's his stock falling a little bit because of this season's not been as good. But
well, what about Potter? I mean, he's kind of in the same position as Southgate was when Southgate appointed, no one wanted Southgate, and he just had to earn it. You never know. Potter was like on the big rise up till Chelsea, and then he's dropped off the face again. So you never know. He might be able to pull it out.
Yeah. Well, Brendan Rodgers might be out of job soon if the next 6 weeks don't go well. So there you go.
Well, hopefully it does go well then for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely no. So we'll guess we'll maybe see you guys in the final then when it comes to the Euros. But yeah. So our next.
Sorry, what do you think on Scotland's chances then? Talking of England, are you trying is it just get out of the group? Is that the best you can hope for? Or?
Yeah, never got out of the group before at a major tournament, so that would be an achievement for us. I was actually relatively confident we'd be able to do that until some of the results recently. We lost to Northern Ireland during the week, which at home is a pretty bad result. And we've kind of lost or drew the last few we've played. But, in recent times, we've been doing quite well. Clark's been, Steve Clark's done quite a good job and big results, beating Spain and stuff. And even we got beat with Spain away. I thought we played really well and beat Norway away and things like that. So I think recently we've been playing quite well. But the last kind of 4 or 5 games, we've not been winning. We've not been getting results. So I don't know. I'm probably less confident than I was if you'd asked me maybe 6 or 7 months ago. But yeah, no, I'm reasonably optimistic that if we play the way we can and we get the breaks, Scotland are always going to need a bit of luck, I think, in a tournament like this. So if we kind of get that luck, then I think we can probably get out of the group. But we could just as easily finish bottom. Nothing would really surprise you. But I don't know what you guys think, Colin, Paul.
Well, I think the key thing for us is keeping everybody fit because our team is very built on a lot of key players like Robertson. If he's fit, we're replacing him with, if he's no fit, we're replacing him with Greg Taylor, who's just not the same. He's a good player, but he's just not the same calibre as Andy Robertson. Absolutely if Kieran Tierney pulls his hamstring at Real Sociedad one more time, he might not have a hamstring left. Yeah. He's a key player. It depends. Like we could fall down pretty badly if a couple of players just fall out. Like we've seen the big difference with Aaron Hickey and Callum McGregor at the team for this national camp. We could see a difference.
Yeah.
The only saving grace is Scotland have been absolutely shocking in friendlies for, I think since Steve Clark took charge, I think we've only won like 3 friendlies or something like 18. And competitively, we're completely different. Like we've won in like 18 out of 24 games or something. I can't remember what it is, something daft. Like we've won more competitive games than we do friendlies. We're absolutely shocking in friendlies. So that's the only saving grace I think we can say for this. Plus, for 70 minutes against the Dutch, like we could have been 4-0 up and we end up getting 4-0. So I think when we go to the Euros, we're playing more teams more like the Dutch rather than teams like Northern Ireland who are just going to take a chance and then sit back for however long it was, 8 odd minutes, however it was. So yeah, I'm hoping we have a better chance. But I'm totally bitter about the Northern Ireland game. They pretty much done what we usually do to other teams. So
yeah, I think we struggle to break down teams that play that way. I think like we probably lack that kind of creativity,
penetration.
Yeah. Sometimes when a team sits so low, don't get me wrong, like some teams will do it like Cyprus and stuff, and we've taken care of them. But yes, I think sometimes it looks like we do better when a team kind of comes at us a little bit. So
I've just checked your group because I wasn't sure off the top of my head. So you got Germany, Hungary, and Switzerland. So obviously the Germans, you back them pretty heavily to top that group. And out of Hungary and Switzerland, what are you thinking? Like, grab a win against them and a point against the other?
Switzerland, I think's doable.
Yeah.
Hungary, I don't know. The only thing that sticks in my mind about Hungary is that Nations League game when they beat you 4-0. And that kind of just sticks in my mind all the time. Like, maybe they are a better team than they seem on paper. Like, maybe they're just a team of well-made parts, like all working as a whole, rather than just individuals. So,
but that's what you get as well in like tournament football. You know, if every tournament went by, the best teams always go through. Yeah, when we get to the end, but there's always a couple of teams who you don't expect to do well. You know, I remember, was it South Korea knocking out Italy in the World Cup that year? No one saw that coming. Yeah. You know, they had a bit of help.
The big one, isn't it? Greece winning it, like how many years ago was the big one? So that's the most unexpected thing.
Mate, if you want to go back to when you were a tiny child, then I remember when I was a slightly older child, Denmark winning it when they weren't even in the Euros, when they weren't even supposed to be in it. But because Yugoslavia all kicked off over there, and then Yugoslavia wasn't a thing anymore. And so Denmark got into the tournament. That's when Schmeichel was there, and they went on and won the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right. They were on the beach like 3 weeks before they went out. Yeah.
I mean, there you go. That's the training camp. You need just don't spend ages thinking about it. Oh, jump on the plane, boys. You're off to the Euros.
Yeah. I guess the moral of the story is you just never know when it comes to tournament football. So
exactly.
Absolutely. So we'll move on to our next topic then. So Neil, you wanted to talk about Everton financial fair play, which we've discussed a bit before on this show, but it's rumbling on, isn't it?
It's still rumbling on. I mean, we're waiting to. I mean, Forest got charged. Forest got our charges. We already had our first charge, appealed, and I remember going into all this in so much detail at work, and instead of doing work and reading, and apparently we appealed on 6 grounds, and they upheld 4 of the 6, and yet they took 9, 10 points they took off us. I forget now. 10, wasn't it? And we got 4 of them back. So I don't even know how they figure it all out. And then they're trying to get us again on the same time period. And we're like, I feel like we're like the scapegoat at the minute because they're too scared to take on the big teams. But they go, well, Everton's not going to fight back, so we'll go after them. Forest, they're not going to fight back, we'll go after them. And I mean, I apparently they have set Man City's date internally. They just haven't told anyone when it's going to be because they're facing, was it, 120? And this is what everyone's kind of kicking off at. They've got 125 charges over their heads. 115. It's around that number. They've got that many charges. And the reason it's rumbling on is they're denying it. They're saying, "Oh no, we didn't. We admitted to one breach, and I think we were over by about 25 million." And again, you know, what was it they took into account? This is what they didn't take into account. One of our backers was a Russian guy who got censored, which suddenly meant we lost millions and millions of him. Sigurdsson was another example because he was obviously arrested and then released, but obviously that was a £50 million player that was suddenly off our books, so we couldn't do anything about, and we essentially lost for free. We were basically forced to sell Richarlison by the Premier League to balance our books, and then they still bollocked us over it. And we've basically had a self-imposed transfer ban for the last 3 seasons. You know, we've not been able, and we've got the lowest spend as well of any Premier League club in the last 3 seasons. And it's just, I'm waiting to see what we get on this next one. I mean, it sounds like we're probably going to lose another 4 points again, I reckon, or 6 again. But then, you know, how do you understand when Forest spent over 130 odd million in one window, Chelsea spending 700 million in one season? But the problem is, I think what teams should be smarter than we did now is just deny the charge and drag it out, because the whole reason the Premier League was doing this and targeting us was so that they could go, no, we don't need an independent regulator. We can take care of it ourselves. And it hasn't worked. And there is an independent regulator coming in. So again, now what happens if we get punished this year and then the regulator comes in and, you know, it's a complete, they've absolutely cocked it up from the start to the finish here. No one's got any faith in the Premier League at all. The amount of, when I was at Goodison about a few weeks back, the amount of people just holding, you know, the cheat cards up for the Premier League and like corrupt, and like the atmosphere around the ground for the Premier League was just, you know, horrific.
Yeah. Well, when you've spoken about this before, what do you think about what's happening? Oh,
sorry, who was that?
Colin, but he's not got any sound coming out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
I paused it to eat a grape not that long ago, and then I don't know what happened. Yeah, we spoke about it a while ago. I agree. Is it just the one charge you guys have, Neil?
We had the one charge. We're getting charged again for the same time period.
Nah, like
apparently,
I don't know how they can justify, as you said, like Man City having over 100 and absolutely nothing happening. Like, I do agree. It's just kind of going after like the little guy in a sense. So yeah, it's all a bit bizarre. And as you said, there was a lot of different circumstances in there that kind of led to it.
yeah. I mean, the other one was they didn't take the stadium. We're building a new stadium. They didn't take that into account. Losing, one of the major backers of the club. And I'm trying to think what the other one was. There was like
Sorry,
four.
mate, I thought it was because they took the stadium into account, which is why they've affected because that money wasn't offloaded.
End of the day, mate, we were over by 25 million. In football terms, 25 million is absolutely nothing.
It's a speed ticket, yeah. But
well, look at Nottingham Forest. Like theirs is more understandable because they literally bought like 30 players last summer or the summer
in one year, yeah.
So you can kind of get that one, but as you say, like did Chelsea not get round it by giving like they started giving all their players like 7 or 8 year contracts?
Yeah, and although that's the clever way of doing it, I don't think that's Chelsea's major problem. Chelsea's major problem is going to be if it gets proved that they've still been paying Abramovich money back, which is like the rumor that's what's been going on. That because he just obviously he got censured and all that, so he can operate in England. So sold the club off to Bowley, but if they can prove that Chelsea have been paying Abramovich or any of these dodgy monies going out to the Russians, then. I mean, Chelsea and Man City, like they said, that's what everyone wants, basically, isn't it? They want them kicked out of the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think we should just rip it up and start again.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like I say, I'm in my 40s, so I can remember when it was just Division 1. And then apparently football doesn't exist in England before 1991-92 season when the Premier League came in.
When the rebrand happened, football didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other teams apart from Everton, Forest, and City? Does anyone else got? Does Chelsea have some charges?
I think Leicester have got a points deduction coming next season, haven't they? The beginning of next season, I think they've got something.
Oh, they could start in minus, couldn't they?
Yeah. Why is it next season with them and it's immediate with Everton? I don't understand.
I don't know. I probably should have done some research before.
Does it just depend on what time period the charges are referring to? Maybe.
But then that doesn't make sense for us because we're getting done over the same 3-year period.
Yeah, again.
And again, since that time period started, we've been cooperating. Our biggest problem was just admitting we'd made a mistake, basically, and working with the Premier League. We should have said, bollocks to it, because we wouldn't be in the position where we are in the league if we'd actually been able to spend.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with football now, isn't it? So,
see, without the points deductions and all the stuff surrounding it, how do you think this Everton team with Sean Dyche, how do you think they would be doing without the whole kind of circus of it all?
I think we would have been comfortably mid-table this year because, I mean, we've been on the verge of relegation every season for the last 2 or 3 years again with Lampard and Dyche coming in and saving. Again, as an Everton fan, you're so used to staying up on the last day of the season. And I remember in the 90s, we stayed up. We were 2-0 down at half-time against, I think it was Sheffield Wednesday, and we had to win. And we came back and won it 3-2 in the second half. There's another one where we stayed up on goal difference one day. We were Gareth Farrelly of all players scored a winner, his only goal I think for the club. And like last season again, we were a goal down at half time, come back and won 2-1, and then we still had to wait on the other results. I was at a festival actually. I was watching NoFX that day, so my phone signal went out, and I had no idea whether we were still in the Premier League or not until I was on the road on the way back. But
yeah,
it's quite lucky Nottingham Forest got the deduction then, because they're obviously, I'm looking at the table there, like between you and Luton.
Luton are doing pretty well though. That's the thing. Luton have got a bit of form now. Ross Barkley, a bloody another ex-player who's doing really decent now. He's finally found a bit of form in his 5th club after he left us.
Yeah, I think if you were to give Everton back all the points that they've lost, I think they'd just be above Palace. Yeah, they'd be below Bournemouth. They wouldn't have 35 points.
Our main problem this year is Dyche has done a pretty good job of just, we defensively at one point, I think only until the last month or two, where we've just lost every game again for a while. We'd had I think it was the third or fourth best defence in the Premier League. Like Pickford had the most clean sheets. Branthwaite and Tarkowski were superb in the centre. I'm still not convinced on like left back and right back. And like you say, you got Patterson, who looks decent and attacking when he comes on, but then they won't play him, and they were playing bloody Ashley Young there, who just gets done every game or gets sent off because he's too slow. You know, he's been a liability for us this season, Young.
Just popped into my head. Did Patterson get slapped by Sean Dyche like a few weeks ago? I thought I read something about that. Like Dyche,
I hadn't heard anything. No,
I read something about that as well. I think it was something to do like it was at a team dinner or something. Then he slapped him in the back of the head, but then he had to apologise because Tarkowski took. Like, I don't think Patterson was too bothered by it. I think it was like a kind of playful thing, but a couple of players weren't happy about it. So Tarkowski went to Dyche and said that they weren't happy about it. So I think he apologised to him, and I think it was all good. I think it was like a daft wee thing that maybe just got blown out of proportion, possibly.
Yeah, like didn't make the news down here. Didn't hear about it.
Yeah. But saying that, I think Nathan Patterson needs to be slapping the head because he was awful in fucking against Northern Ireland, don't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I think we've always had what's his name? Ben Godfrey, and I think he's a brilliant player. And he's a centre back really by trade, but because he can play anywhere at the back, you know, so he can fill in at left back, he can fill in at right back, and at the minute, I mean, Seamus Coleman's back, but good old 80 grand Seamus Coleman, who 80 grand from Sligo Rovers, he's got to be the one of the and his whole career at Everton after that, he's got to be one of the best players you ever bought for that amount of money. But he's not really factoring at all now. I think he came back from almost career-ending injury, so he's on the bench. He gets the odd run out here and there. Patterson, I just don't know. I don't know if Dyche just doesn't fancy playing him. And now, like I said, but Godfrey is good. I do really rate Ben Godfrey. I don't actually want to see him leave.
Bring back Tony Hibbert at retirement, and Everton will be fine.
Yeah,
was
good old Tony
Godfrey?
Hibbert.
Was Godfrey not? I'm sure Godfrey or maybe someone else they were linked with a loan move to Rangers in January. Is that?
Yeah, he was linked to move. He was linked to moving away. Yeah, because he wanted to play, and then
who's your star player? Like I just watch a lot of the time. It's just the kind of 3-minute highlight reels, but Doucouré always seems to be the one kind of popping up with the goals. Is he one of your top players?
He is. The problem, I think, bizarrely this season, defence is our best. I think Branthwaite and Tarkowski have just been superb, you know, and that's what stopped us. You know, these games last year or under Lampard, we would have lost by 2 or 3 goals, or if not more, because they just couldn't defend at all. So Dyche has done what he does. He's made it hard to score at the back. We're really good on set pieces. I think we were like second or third on set scoring from corners and free kicks and that. They're not in it obviously directly. After Arsenal, City and that. So it's just we just can't score a bloody goal at the minute. I mean, Calvert-Lewin's up to about 20 odd games. I think it's 22 games now. Calvert-Lewin's not scored a goal in consecutive, and I think the Brazilian Portuguese lad we got now coming in is going to take his spot.
Yeah. What have you guys got an appeal in about the financial fair play stuff? Is there a live appeal like to the penalty, the deduction?
Well, we appealed and got points back on the first one. Now, but again, like you say, we're waiting to find out what's happening on the second one.
Yeah,
us and Forest were accused at the same time, and Forest found out, and we're still waiting.
Yeah.
But I suppose our defence is, well, you've already done us once on it, so that's why it's taking a bit longer.
It's a really bizarre situation looking from the outside in, isn't it? It's because, like you're saying, you've been punished because you went over by a little bit, and you've got one charge to investigate, so it's easier for them to investigate, and you've been hit hardest. So you'd have been better off spunking a load of money on players you couldn't afford, and it would take them longer to investigate it, and then maybe nothing would ever happen with it, depending on the level of investigation and what the rules are when it actually comes to light.
Yeah, and also, like you say, with the independent regulator coming in, which is what the Premier League didn't want because they wanted it all to be in-house. And I mean, this season's proven you definitely need an independent regulator because they haven't got a clue what they're doing. And it's the amount of, I mean, like I said, if the appeals drag on, and like Forest are obviously going to appeal theirs as well, there was this thing that they don't want to happen where the appeals you could get to the last day of the season and you still might not know who's going to be relegated because the appeals still wouldn't have been heard. I mean, surely how hard is it to just get a bunch of people in a room and figure it out? And yet, you know, you get to the last day of the season, I'm like, so what about Luton? I think I feel sorry for Luton in that because Luton could be, you know, above we could be above Luton, and then suddenly we could get relegated and Luton would stay up.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think Burnley and Sheffield United are dead. I think they're done and dusted.
Yeah, they're gone. Yeah. The flip side to this is that they're setting a, like, I know Man City are denying it and it's dragging it on and stuff, but 115 charges, you've got to think that some of them they're going to be found guilty on, and they're setting the precedent now in terms of what they've done to Everton when they've done to Notts Forest. That's now the line. So I've got to imagine Man City will be found guilty of a lot more than that. So they've now set the threshold for what the punishment is, and it'd be interesting to see when that works itself out what the consequences are for Man City, or whether because they are Man City and the money they've got and they're the winning the leagues and stuff, whether it's any different what happens.
It'll probably end up being a fine for them, which they won't care about one iota, will they? They'll be like, all right, yeah, sure, here you go, here's some money.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get right down to the bottom league, just relegated down
Conference.
The bottom.
That's what I want.
Because there's so
all
many
the trophies get taken off them, and that Netflix documentary that's out now that gets scrubbed.
Because there's so many like plastic kind of Man City fans that don't even remember the likes of like Alano and the kind of mob before that lot.
Have you met one?
Yeah.
Man City, I swear they don't exist. They're not down here.
I
don't see. There's literally around the streets you see like Liverpool fans. We're really far down south. You see them about. You see Man City fans. You see Chelsea fans, Arsenal fans. Not more of the London side. I swear to God, City fans don't exist. They're not.
David, we are in the southeast, aren't we? So it was all London.
But you're seeing like every other fan going around.
I'd love to see Man City crash and burn. I must admit, I'd love to see them just go down to the Championship or lower. I think it would be quite nice.
I'd like to see that. I wouldn't like to see the trophies taken away, admittedly. Like, even being a Liverpool fan, a lot of them would be given to Liverpool because, they beat us by a point every fucking season. But I wouldn't like to see the trophies given away just because it's not the players and the coaching staff's fault. That's the business side of things has been a bit dodgy. So the players have
that's pretty much any big team though is now dodgy. Like almost every Premier League team has got a really super rich billionaire in charge of it. And I mean, I think the only way you fix this is, like you say, the independent regulator set a salary cap, set a wage cap, or look at what they're doing in Germany. That's what you got to do. Like
you set a wage cap though, everyone's going to be going to Saudi. No one's going to stay here if they could get. You set a wage cap at 200 grand, let's say, a week, which is quite depressing.
Yeah. A wee call back to our last Seismic Soccer episode, the free foreigners rule reintroduction.
Yeah. Just on that, what you're saying there, David, about the wage caps and stuff and everyone going to Saudi. Does anybody think financial fair play is not a good thing and they should scrap it? And it was better before it was in place? Or football was better before it was in place? Or English football was better specifically before it was in place?
I think so, because the way all the money's come into football, all the bigger teams, it hasn't really changed anything. And this is one of the arguments against it all, is that what it's doing is basically the top teams. It's protecting the top teams, because if no one can spend that much amount of money, then no one can come in and take over like a Blackburn back in the day, put all the money in it, buy the best players, and then win something. You get the rare anomaly like Leicester winning it, where a team's actually just managed to stay injury free and put a run together. But yeah, I think like you say, every team's got so many of the teams have got billionaire owners now. And it won't be long, like you say before, pretty much every Premier League team has that type of owner. And so it does kind of level the playing field a bit more. We could have spent an absolute ton of money through whatever things if we were been allowed to. I mean, we spent absolutely terribly. I think that Mashiri, who's in charge of us, who's desperately trying to sell us at the minute, he's terrible. He didn't have a clue that with the amount of money we were spending on terrible players, it was just, horrendous.
Yeah. It does feel like it is kind of weighted towards the top end, doesn't it? Because like the top end have assets that are more valuable than the teams lower than them, so they can just sell that off and bring in a player of similar quality or similar price tag, and they're not really changing much. Whereas like Everton would struggle to sell somebody for a lot of money, and then you wouldn't be able to bring in anyone for a lot of money, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we struggled to get rid of half the team. We said, I mean, we went through so many managers in so many years that it was like a Frankenstein team. No manager could come in and do a clean sweep because there was no money. So he had to work with like 2 or 3 squads back. I mean, the best we've been in recent years was when we had the COVID season, when we had Ancelotti for that 1 year, and beat Liverpool at Anfield, but no fans. But you had James Rodriguez, Richarlison, and Calvert-Lewin on form. And you watch how good that shows you how good Ancelotti was as a manager. That when you was watching that, like Calvert-Lewin, he got 22 goals that season, and because Ancelotti just told him stop running around and doing all the defending, just get in a box, stay in a box, and that's what he did, and he scored an absolute ton of goals that season. And watching players like James Rodriguez, I mean, he's just on a different wavelength to the rest of the squad. But so was Richarlison, and you were watching them, and the passes and they would play to each other. No one else would think of doing that, and that's why we were so good up front with those there that season. And then, of course, bloody Real Madrid came calling, and Carlo went back again, and that dream died.
Yeah. I mean, I forgot the actual question now after you said that. What was the actual question?
Fair play.
Right. Was it better beforehand?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like with the amount, there needs to be some sort of rules set because the sheer amount of money that is owned by the top clubs, or when you bring sovereign wealth into it, like at Newcastle or City or whatever, it's just it'll become broken. The game would just become broken.
Maybe a rule that a country can't own a club would be a good start.
Yeah, potentially, and like basing it based off like commercial revenue as well, which City is apparently the top of, which is just absolute bollocks. I don't know anyone that would agree with that. Yeah, it is protecting the big clubs. It's not a good thing, but there needs to be something in place. And I'm not smart enough to think of what that something is, but there should be people out there that are smart enough, that should come up with this system.
Yeah, I don't know if Paul or Colin, you guys agree, but see as someone who follows my team Celtic, so someone who follows a team in Scotland, which is a smaller league with the TV money and things like that we get now is pretty similar to what it was 20 years ago. It's not really went up the way the Premier League has, and we 20 years ago we could spend 5 or 6 million on a player, saying it would get you a pretty competitive Premier League standard player for that kind of money. Whereas now it really doesn't get you any guarantee of even a decent player now. So I personally I think there's something in football needs to be done with righting the market and making, because I think that seems like the richer leagues and the richer clubs that you've spoken about are getting richer, and it's getting easier for them to consistently have success, and it's harder and harder for clubs and leagues, I think, across Europe at the bottom to try and close the gap and be successful. I don't think you'll see teams like Porto winning the Champions League again, anytime soon. Even Ajax, teams like that have historically been able to have success. I think the way that money's almost ruined the game in a lot of ways. So, but I don't think it'll ever happen because I don't think.
I mean, Ajax came close under Ten Hag, didn't they? They lost the last-minute goal, Tottenham goal.
Yeah, they're like semi-final or something, aren't they?
Yeah, semi-final. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like out of the realms of possibility that it could happen.
Yeah,
it's highly unlikely. It just becomes more and more unlikely the more and more the wealthy stay rich. And
on the bright side, PSG still haven't won it, and that just makes me laugh every year because they throw all the money at it. They got Mbappe, and they still couldn't do it. Mbappe, Neymar, all the best players, and they self-destruct every season in the Champions League. PSG.
Yeah. What a shame.
Man City were like that just till last year as well. Gary, we were saying about the money. It's like because we didn't spend any money at all in January, and obviously there was the big stuff about Shankland, but we weren't able to put out that kind of money. But I think it comes to wasting it a lot. Like Rangers spent a lot last summer on the likes of Sam Lammers and Cifuentes. Like we did spend money last summer, but then it wasn't used effectively. So it's just like how you're using their budgets and the scouting. I think there is still money there for Rangers and Celtic. I think just they're reluctant to use it a lot of the time, or they just splurge and waste it.
I'm more just thinking like what that money would have got you like a lot of years ago is different to what you get, Like I think like obviously the if you think of players like you guys, especially Rangers back like 20 years ago, I'm thinking we're buying like a lot of Dutch internationals, Arthur Newman, Van Bronckhorst, all these kind of players. I think, and they were costing what, 6, 7, 8 million pounds at the time, but now you're talking easily 20 million pound cost for players of that caliber, I would have said. So which
Those days are gone.
Look at a Dutch body part for 6 million.
Yeah.
Well, look at Calvin Bassey. He had a great season and then went for about 23 million roundabout. But you probably, if he had been playing in the English Premier League, he'd probably going for 60, 50, 60.
Yeah,
Based on that valuation,
Yeah.
Isn't either Celtic or Rangers? Don't you buy a lot of players from the Korean leagues at the moment?
Celtic at the moment,
yeah. So like talking about the pools that you're fishing in. You're talking about the Dutch, like all these amazing Dutch players. And now you're looking at the Korean leagues and players that probably no one's ever heard of until they come and play for you.
Well, yeah. I think we're having to do that because I think we can't afford to shop in the markets that we used to. But yeah, like we've had a lot of success in the Japanese league recently. I think we've had 3 players who now we could probably sell for more than we paid for them. And they've been really, really good for us. South Korea less so, although we're trying to obviously go after the Asian kind of market, but kind of over-egging that, and the more we
is that strategic as well to like build
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Celtic went on a pre-season tour of Japan and South Korea as well, so they're definitely trying to tap into that market. So yeah, definitely are strategic, I think. But I think it's strategic now. I think it started when we got Ange Postecoglou as a manager, who obviously was the Yokohama manager before he was at us. So he had knowledge of that Japanese market, brought the Japanese players in to Celtic, and then from that, the clubs obviously realised that they can maybe tap into something here and make a lot of money selling strips and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, it's we're having to kind of go down that route now. We sign like Canadian players and things like that as well, trying to obviously because we can't keep going. If we can't afford Premier League players anymore. That we once could.
I don't think we can pay the money anymore, but we can still attract the names. Like if Jack Butland was a big signing. Aaron Ramsey didn't work out, but he came. And some of the Dutch boys, you're talking about Dutch players, the Joey Veerman that's at PSV he was heavily linked. I don't know if he's in the Dutch squad, but he's there or thereabouts.
I know, but that's the difference, I think, Colin. Before it was like Arthur Newman, 50 caps, Ronald De Boer, like those kind of players that you guys were signing. Us less so, we weren't signing the kind of ready-made stars in the same way. But even then, we were signing like, guys like
Chris Sutton,
like the guys who were established in the Premier League for like teams like all right, Sutton was kind of in a bad moment at Chelsea, but he won the league and stuff there, and just players that were kind of tried and tested, and we just can't get those.
It's been a seismic shift.
Yeah.
I think we can, as you say, you can get people in on threes, maybe when they're younger on loan. Because is it Javi Simmons that played for Holland? I'm sure he was linked with Rangers a couple of years ago when he was at PSG. So you can still get them in when they're younger and when they're older. It's that middle bit when they're at their peak we're not getting anymore.
Who was the old Rangers player? And this is going back some. I can't remember his name now, but he played down under Walter Smith right before Walter Smith came to Everton the following year, and he got something crazy like over 40 goals in the one season. He was a foreign player,
Marco Negri.
That's it. Yeah. And I was just like, why didn't we try and sign him from Rangers? Like, everyone's like, oh well, Scottish. I was like, if you're getting 44 goals anywhere in one season, even if you get 20 in the Premier League, that's still definitely worth doing it.
But he scored most of his goals before Christmas. Then he get injured in a squash incident. And,
Sergio Clini
scored like 3 goals after Christmas.
The vegetable or the sport?
Before Christmas, yeah. The sport.
That's a well-known story, that one, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
And the best one we had was Richard Wright at one point falling out of his loft and breaking his shoulder. That put him out for the season.
Yeah. Cut Broadfoot getting an egg exploded in the microwave and he was out injured because of it. I think that's the best injury I've ever heard. Cut Broadfoot, the old Rangers player. He microwaved an egg and it exploded or something like that. And
he's at Morton now.
Yeah, he's a Morton player now. Fucking
Neil, was Richard Wright not like the next big thing at one point? For
It was supposed to be, and he wasn't, was he?
Yeah. Went from Arsenal to Everton, didn't he?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. I mean, yeah, we forget about him. I think he got replaced by Nigel Martin, if I remember rightly. We went and got him from Leeds when he was like 37, 38, and he ended up being our keeper till I think he was 40, 41. And then Wright just kind of slinked away wherever he ended up.
Yeah. Do you know a bit in about Man City? Is they're like they're like, do you know how they've always got this well-known third choice like Scott Carson? Was Richard Wright not the number 3 at City at one point?
He might have been, yeah.
Probably just kind of homegrown.
Aye. Scott Carson with his Champions League medals. His big gap in his teeth.
I bet he must be embarrassing, innit, if you're like, one of these players. It was like Barkley when he went to Chelsea and he's there like picking up like all the winners' medals and he's like, mate, you played 2 games all season. Do you really?
Yeah. Cool. We'll move on to our next topic then. So, David, you wanted to talk about Duncan Ferguson and Eric Cantona, two players connected to two.
Well, I think Neil was the one that knows that story because being the Everton fan.
And also, with you guys in Scotland, I'm sure you can correct me on this, what I've got wrong, but I remember, this is the way I remember it from back when I was a kid, so back of the season, Big Dunk headbutted John McStay in a match, fractured his skull, and he ends up getting 4 months in jail. But the same season, Cantona assaults a fan.
Sorry, mate. Best thing about that headbutt, he didn't even get booked for it.
Yeah.
Is that true? Right? Yeah. And if I remember rightly, McStay. And if I remember rightly, McStay didn't press charges. Though he was like, "Nah, just a heat of the moment thing on the pitch." But then, because official complaint was made, Ferguson ends up getting sent to jail for 4 months. That's the reason why, right? If I got this right, why he'd never played for Scotland again because he felt like he didn't have any help from the Scottish FA over it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Then I guess into like Berlin or something as well, like something.
Yeah, which apparently is one of the most notorious ones up there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about double standards. Like you say, Cantona assaults a fan the same year, but because he's Eric Cantona, he just gets community service in the ban. Ferguson ends up in jail without bloody. Yeah,
Big Dunk. He did assault people on a gamely basis.
He had a bit of a reputation in his younger days. But I mean, what was a famous story when 2 burglars broke into his house and they tried suing him because he beat both of them up so badly?
Yeah, he dragged one of them back into the house when they tried to run out of the house.
I've not heard that.
That's like absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
I mean, he's my all-time favourite player. Like he's just, I've still got the Everton Danker shirt from '95 when we won the FA Cup, with like Ferguson 9 on the back of it.
Yeah.
Was he actually? Because all I can remember about Duncan Ferguson is the elbows, is the nastiness and the tackles. And
he had a lot of injuries.
Was he actually any good?
Yeah. Oh man, he's in the air. The amount of headers he scored, he was superb. He just had a lot of injuries. I think kind of curtailed his career a bit when he was at Everton. Of course, then he got sold to Newcastle without anyone telling the manager at the time. He's like, "I've been sold to Newcastle." I was like, "What?" Yeah. And then he didn't. Apparently, then never really wanted to go. Then he came back to us again. So I mean, but he was just when you see a player who gives everything for the team and just absolutely like embodies that fighting spirit of what you want in a player. That's what Big Dunk was for Everton.
So I'll go around the group then about this. So what's the right punishment for that type of acting, headbutting someone and fracturing their skull on the pitch? What do you think? Should the police get involved in on pitch matters? What do you think, Paul?
No, I don't think so. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Depends on how bad it is. But yeah, sorry.
I think because it's a deliberate act, like you're actually going out to hurt someone. I know he probably didn't mean to actually like fracture the skull right enough, but if you did that to somebody in the street, it's assault. So if you're doing it on a football field and you do it hard enough that you fracture somebody's skull, I would probably say that's assault. So I'd probably say the punishment fits the crime. I know you're saying about Cantona, he didn't get the same for the fan thing, but he probably should have got something like that, similar. Yeah. So I would say, just because of the severity of it, like you couldn't do that. Like, see if somebody done that to me and like cracked my skull, you'd expect repercussions. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be, oh well, just a yellow card or like 6-game ban or something like that. 6-game ban isn't going to make you feel any better about it. So I would say it was probably right, but that's just me.
Colin, you're a Rangers fan. He was playing for Rangers at the time he done that. What's the sort of feeling from the Rangers fans about that incident?
It was before my time, really. I knew him more at Everton, to be honest. I agree with what Paul's saying about the punishments, but I also think it comes back to the consistency of, well, Cantona not getting the jail, but you've also got like the Roy Keane where he purposely like took out Haaland's dad, and it's like where's the line drawn? Like lots of things happen on a weekly basis. Sometimes accidental. Remember, was it Stephen Hunt at Reading that cracked Czech's skull? That was obviously not on purpose, but I think there has to be a consistency where the police always get involved or they never get involved, because like Roy Keane admitted that he wanted to basically end Haaland's career.
Yeah, but that was sometime after though, wasn't it? In a book or something like that? Because I think at the time, was it not like a kind of veiled, like it was a kind of veiled tackle, as if it was like it was just a shitey challenge basically. It kind of veiled it as in a match kind of situation. I think the situation with Big Dunk's different because he actually went out to headbutt him, whereas Roy Keane kind of hid the fact that he was playing football in the middle of a game.
Maybe he should have got done retrospectively then. But it's just, I think it just goes back. Same with the financial fair play. See with VAR, I think everything comes back to consistency, and if there's one rule, it should apply all the time.
Yeah,
100%. My favorite Duncan Ferguson moment is, remember when Jimmy Bullard of Wigan was just like staring at him like in awe. I did this thing when I was like younger where I just randomly adopted Wigan as my Premier League team just the season they came up, and I got really into them. Actually, I got quite a few tops, and I just always remember. And this is the other Jimmy Bullard one where he did like there was like a pile up in the goal, and he did like a dive over the top of them. I don't know if it was the same game, but I just always remembered him staring up at Big Dunk. That was my big.
There's that really iconic still of it, wasn't there? There's that really iconic image of the look on Bullard's face and like Ferguson in full rage grabbing someone by the throat, and then Bullard just in the middle of the shot going. I actually got to see Big Dunk play once, and it was Everton Charlton, and we were in the Charlton. A mate had a season ticket that for Charlton that was done through his work, so they just share it around. And when Everton were playing, he's like, "Oh, do you want to go, mate?" So we were in with the Charlton fans in the home end. So obviously, no shirt, just having to like play it quiet, and we were losing about 2-0, and it's about 20 minutes to go. Big Dunk comes on as a sub, and someone says something to him to wind him up as he walks on the pitch, and he just forearm smashes the guy as he walks past him, gets a straight red card, turns down and walks back down a tunnel without even setting foot on the pitch. And of course, all the fans were like cheering because he'd been sent off. I was cheering because I just saw Big Dunk in person absolutely lay someone out. Which, probably not the thing you should be celebrating, but just to see the man like that close, we were really close. We were probably like 4th or 5th row from the pitch. You could see everything when it happened. I was like, "You absolute maniac!"
This is a bit of a tangent, but when you mentioned Charlton there, I don't know about you guys, but I get really nostalgic for that kind of era of the Premier League where it was Charlton, Middlesbrough, Blackburn, Bolton. Like those are like my kind of fond memories of kind of growing up with football. Do you think we'll ever see some of those guys back again? Like,
I think you will.
Blackburn are probably the best shout out of that kind of crop. I would maybe say.
I mean, I think it comes in like I remember I've got an old Panini sticker album from 1988. And you look at like the teams in the top division, and it's like night and day between like 10 years after that, and 10 years after that, and 10 years after that. I mean, we are getting to the stage now where it is usually the same 3 teams that come up go back down the next season. It's very rare to see get stays up now. Yeah, usually Norwich. Yeah.
I just miss it. Like you'll remember the days like JJ Okocha at Bolton and Morton Gams Pedersen at Blackburn, and
I've got a mate who's
JD.
Good memories.
I got a mate who's a Leeds fan, and we went up to Leeds to see Lucas Radovic's testimonial when JJ Okocha was playing for him.
Yeah.
For one of the teams, and he was just because it was a test, like a testimonial game. The amount of skill JJ Okocha still had at that point, he was just. I think he scored about 8 goals in one half. He was just absolutely taking the piss, and no tackles were going in, so no one was so he just had more time on the ball to like do all this outrageous shit. It was amazing.
That was a mental Bolton team. They had like Hierro, who'd been like the Real Madrid captain, and they had, was it Djorkaeff that won the World Cup with France? It was just a wild squad with Sam Allardyce in charge.
Good old Big Sam.
So,
anyway, that was just a tangent, but it made me nostalgic for the Premier League of old.
Yeah. Talking about Ferguson and Cantona takes us quite nicely on to our last topic, which is tough guys of football. I don't know, Paul, how would you put it? Hardmen of football?
The bad boys of football.
I didn't put this as a topic, by the way. Like, this was
you picked it. You picked it the month before, Paul, and then you didn't show up. That's what happened.
I was busy fixing my boiler, yes, son of a bitch.
So you've got lots to say about bad boys of football.
Aye.
They don't exist anymore, do they? Like, who's the bad boy of football now?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
it's
it's like a proper bygone era almost.
Yeah.
Dujon Sterling.
What?
Just a solid player.
Aye, it's like, obviously it's one of these things where like we're talking about like Roy Keane, we're talking about Duncan Ferguson, that kind of tough guys. But what is the criteria for like the tough guys of football? So like, I would always think it's people who's like, are always a stick on for a yellow card, probably a stick on for a red card. Probably people you wouldn't want to meet in the streets. But like David was saying there's not really many players these days where you'd kind of go like, oh, you know, would you like to go up against them kind of thing. A lot of centre halves these days, like back in the day, you'd have like big centre halves, big midfielders, not like Razor Ruddock, say, or like Nemanja Vidic or something like that. Where you just be like, oh, they're built like a brick shit house, man. There's no chance Andy's getting past them. Whereas nowadays you've got players like, say, Tottenham, Christian Romero, where he's always good for a red card.
McTominay, United's always good for a booking as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's Paul's boy, don't.
And
Paul loves McTominay.
But like I said, they're not tough guys. It's just they go in for a tackle, but I wouldn't exactly say like when it came to like tough guys, they're stuck on for them.
That you would consider like that sort of tough, or they've had it in the past, are all much older players now. So like Zlatan, he was a bit nasty as a player. He's a big guy, impressive guy. Like, he had it in him. Pepe, even though he's annoying because you flick him and he go down rolling around like he's broke his leg, he used to do people in.
Yeah,
he'd stamp on you and all sorts just for a laugh.
I'm trying to think who else. Like
Diego
Costa was a
oh god,
he was nasty again for the same thing. You flick him and he'd go down. He was more annoying than anything, but he was nasty.
Simeone.
Simeone's the one now, like as a manager, where he's like the bad boy manager, isn't he? Because like after he wins, he's telling everyone to suck his dick, isn't he? He's going like, like, like that's proper.
We left. We had it. Celtic had the Atletico Madrid in the Champions League earlier this season, and at the end of the game, he just left Brendan Rodgers hanging. Brendan Rodgers went to shake his hand, and he just stormed down.
I remember.
Tunnel, and you can't help but like laugh at it. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Perhaps not necessarily a Hardman, but I'll tell you, he was a brilliant wind-up merchant for us over the years. And you wouldn't think it because he's not necessarily the biggest player, but also he's Australian with Samoan heritage, Tim Cahill. I've never seen a player that small wind up as many bigger players on the pitch. And he'd always be talking to people. And then you sort of see it as a clip slowed down on like the internet now these days. And there'd be like bit where he'd like twisting someone's nipple when he was in close to someone, or he'd absolutely be. And because he's so small, people wouldn't see him doing it, or he'd get away with it.
Yeah.
And I just remember Cahill, and one of the best players I've ever seen for like just being that short and scoring so many headers because of his timing. He just had amazing timing. But also, like you say, with the Samoan side of him, you wouldn't want to mess with him either, would you?
Wasn't Joey Barton like tiny? Isn't he quite a small lad? And he went around punching and kicking people.
We're not talking about Joey Barton this month.
Oh, that's a whole
That's next one.
That guy.
What about
he gets his whole episode.
Yeah.
Sergio Ramos, maybe.
Yeah, Ramos. Yeah.
Again, is that age profile, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I was going to say, David, do you think, you said obviously, do they exist anymore? Do you think there's a place for them in the modern game? Or do you think that they're
not with VAR?
Not with VAR, there's not a play. They wouldn't play. They'd be on the pitch 20 minutes and be off again. Yeah. I feel like the game is perhaps it's a weird one, because is the game from a, like, would I want my kid watching somebody go on a pitch and smashing into somebody, and that be the representation of a footballer that they're going to grow up with and want to do in the playground to their mates? You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to see that. So in that regard,
depends what their mates are like.
I don't. So in that, I don't want to see it. Like, if Colin says he, works in a school, would he want to see kids emulating that sort of behaviour in the football pitch at school?
After Zidane's headbutt, we're playing football, smash.
But I feel like football sort of misses that grit.
Yeah,
that's in the game. It's not.
Well, you see it. You'll see a match where someone will put a brilliant sliding tackle in, and they might be leading a bit. They win the ball first, then take the player, and it's given a yellow card or even a red card. Now, it comes back to the consistency issue. The refs and VAR and any of that, there's no consistency. If a meaty tackle goes in, but it's a clean tackle, and they get the ball, it's still a foul apparently now. Some days
mate,
it used to be
another podcast, mate, on VAR and referee.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's as obvious in the English league because it's a lot more technical, but I think we still get quite a few north of the border, particularly with like Kilmarnock. Is he not Martin as well, Paul? Is it Power?
Alan Power. He's about 5'5" with his hands in there. He's no a big enforcer.
It depends what your criteria is, because Alfredo Morelos was always just nipping at folk and a bit like Tim Cahill, just kicking out at people. Alan McGregor, I don't know if you've ever seen the clip where he's punting the ball against Hibs and he just kicks the guy in the back. And there's a few, I'd say John Lundstrom's quite all action. John Sterling, even Ryan Jack to an extent. I think we still have some players that are physical. I don't think the old firm's as rough and tumble as it used to be when you had Bobo Balde and we had Amoruso and you had Rickson and
Gattuso back in the day.
Yeah, Gattuso. I remember I've read a lot of interviews with ex-Celtic and ex-Rangers players, and they said that quite often the instruction for the manager, whoever it happened to be in the old firm games, was first 2 minutes you go and smash one of their better players, put them up in the put them right up in the air, and it'll set the tone for it gets the crowd up. It was actually a tactic almost, to go and hit someone early, get the crowd on your side, kind of get the atmosphere going.
I remember that from there was an Everton game, opening game of the season years back, Everton Man United at Goodison. This is when Fellaini was playing, and we had Phil Neville, average player but really good captain for us. He was what you kind of wanted. And Phil Neville just steamed in on Ronaldo in the first minute of the game. Just took him up in the air, straight yellow card straight away. Crowd roar, and boom, that was it. We were and we beat them 2-0 that night at Goodison. But again, opening game of the season. But again, like you say, it sets the tone. Right, Ronaldo, he's going to try all this fancy flippy shit, kick him off the park, let him know how the game's going to go. And that was it. He was quiet. He did nothing that game after that.
Yeah, I mean,
Gary, the Hibs boys, Scott Brown was probably, I'd class him as that, or just a bit of a wind-up merchant.
Yeah,
but I thought from that era, Kevin Thompson and Alan Hutton, I would say, were quite solid in that sense in the old firm games. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, Kevin Thompson, I think as well. He's quite a good technical player, but he had a kind of hard side to him as well, where he could put in a dirty tackle when he wanted to. Man,
there was one in. I can't remember who it was. Was it Thompson? Was it Thompson or Hutton that did? Was it Robbie Keane when he was at Celtic?
I think so. I think it was Thompson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That tackle. But...
Well, I've got a question for each one of you since we're all different teams. So I'll start with David. If you could pick one player from the past and one player from your current squad as an enforcer type player, what two players would you pick and which one would you prefer?
As the what type player? Sorry.
As like a kind of enforcer type player.
From the past. Oh man. Well, I mean, I'm gonna get slated for not mentioning someone from like the 80s, but I wasn't alive watching the 80s squad, so I don't know.
I'm going to
say someone like Gerrard. Like Gerrard, when he like you were saying, with slamming into a tackle to get the crowd up, Gerrard was doing that. I think he said in an interview he would do that as a youth player. He'd pick the biggest kid he's against, smash into him to know he's in a game, and he'd do that throughout his career. So when he got the Liverpool break, he'd find the biggest bloke on the other team, smash into him, just to set that tone. Gerrard now, probably Van Dijk, because you just wouldn't want to touch him. Man's a mountain.
So out of those two, who would you prefer right now? To have in your team? Gerrard.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. What about you, Neil?
I like that answer, David.
I think, if you go in defensive midfielders, Idrissa Gueye, not so much now, but the first time round we had him, when he was there for the first 3-4 years, he mopped up everything in front of the back four. I think at the minute, we don't really have that type of player. I think probably, like David said, if you go a defender, I'd say Branthwaite at the minute. I can see Branthwaite, because he's so good on the ball, moving forward into like that sweeper role, that defensive midfield. I could see him doing that, because I think that's where a lot of the teams are looking at him, wanting to go, because, you can have him at the back, but you can also push him forward. Onana at the minute as well is doing really well. He's got a little bit of everything to him. He can throw a tackle in. He's got the pace. That's why everyone wants him as well. And, we're probably going to lose both of them in the summer. But, hey, as long as we can get about 150 million out of it, that'll pay for us to get 4 average squad players from someone else to take us through. If you're saying about older players, our Dogs of War season in 1995, and we had a player, he got injured. He was so good. And his name was Joe Parkinson. And his career got finished that year when we won the FA Cup. And he just absolutely steamed in on everyone that season. And he'd been a squad player, not really done much at Everton. And then that season when like we say, Royal come back and we won the FA Cup again. It was just, Barry Horn, you had John Eberl. But I think at the minute, if I had to pick one, it's Branthwaite, because he's in such good form. He's got such potential. Be nice if we keep him for one more season. Get his price to go up a bit more.
Knowing you're lucky, probably get injured.
If he gets injured, then we got bloody Michael Keane back again, haven't we? So
he's slow, he can do.
He's our Maguire. There was one point where they were like linking us with going for Maguire, and I was like, we don't want 2 of them in the bloody team. We'd lose every game by 2 own goals.
What about you, Colin? What is your enforcer types?
Kevin Thompson came to mind, but because I've already mentioned him, I'm going to go for someone different. It's also a wee chance to give a wee memory to this player. So Fernando Rickson started out at right back at Rangers and struggled initially, and then got a bit of form, but he then moved into centre midfield under Alex McLeish, like the kind of helicopter Sunday season, and he kind of matured into like a really kind of quite a cultured midfielder. He started putting free kicks in the top bin, and he was like the player of the year. Was it him and John Hartson shared it that season?
Yeah.
Joint player of the year. But he actually kind of calmed down when he's at right back. He was like a bit of a hatchet man, and he got loads of red cards, but he kind of matured in that role, but he still had that bit of bite. So I'd say maybe Fernando Rickson from earlier. Barry Ferguson's also a shout, but he was more maybe known for his goal scoring and his passing, but he still had that bite as well. In the current team, I mentioned it earlier, John Lundstrom's probably the kind of guy in there. It's a difficult one to choose between the two of them, but if I was pushed because it's his natural position, I'd probably say Lundstrom, because Rickson didn't really play that long in that position.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Good stuff.
I think Wrexham's kind of forgotten about in that role because that was like the season of his life.
Yeah, personally, I always thought of him as always a right back. I never really thought of him as a centre midfielder. So
I think he played his best football in midfield actually.
probably.
Yeah.
Right, across the divide, who's your hatchet man, Gary?
So we quite a lot under Martin O'Neill that could put them quite a physical team, but Bobo Baldy, who you already mentioned, I think would be mine because I wouldn't even class him as like a hard man or whatever because I don't think he was intentionally trying to like put people in like that. Just a big physical, sometimes pretty clumsy guy as well, and I think he was because he was so big and so physical and so I think like some strikers would actually scare them. Like I think that they must have seen him in the tunnel and you could tell like some of them just didn't fancy it against him just because there was a Celtic fans used to sing like Bobo's going to get you and stuff like when he's chasing after strikers like because he would just clatter into them and like send them flying. He was just like so I don't think he's like a hard man in the kind of Roy Keane kind of like put you in the air and like deliberately sort of doing it sort of way, but just I just like took no prisoners and yeah, he's probably the one that springs to mind. The current team, we really lack that. Really lack that. We don't have any players, and probably haven't in a couple of years that I think it's a big part of some of the problems we're having now that we don't have that kind of physical presence. You notice it in Europe as well, quite a lot where I think like the kind of technical, the kind of technical ability and stuff like the bridges, the gaps bigger. We need to sort of be a bit more physical, and we can't be. So yeah, I think we don't have anybody that I can even
What
think
about
of.
Carter Vickers, Gary?
Vickers, yeah. I suppose Vickers, yeah. He's big and physical. I still wouldn't say he's like a.
He's a technically good centre back. He's not exactly. He doesn't fly into things and get cards and all that. Really.
Yeah, he's quite measured. He's quite a stocky guy, and he's strong when he needs to be. But I wouldn't say that he's a guy that he doesn't get many cards. He doesn't give away many stupid fouls or anything like that. He's actually quite a like he can pass out for the back and stuff. Alistair Johnson, maybe at right back, can kind of mix it up. But I mean,
is Callum McGregor not your kind of Scott Brown version nowadays? No.
Yeah, he's a totally different type of player. He plays in that same position, the kind of deep lying midfield role, McGregor, but he's a different player to Brown. He's technically better than Brown. He's than Brown was. Brown was a bit more of that kind of mould, but McGregor's more less physical and probably more a football player, like a better passer of the ball and stuff. But
a smooth operator.
Yeah.
Can I just give one quick wee shout out? You said like, what do you envision when you think of like the Hardmen? The image that comes into my mind's Terry Butcher with the blood in his shirt and the blood in his bandage.
Yeah,
I say that's probably your archetype.
Yeah, definitely. That's like the iconic image of it, isn't it?
Stuart Pearce had a similar one, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, Psycho. Is it Psycho they called him?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got to be up there. Awesome. Like we're talking about this kind of stuff. But just leading on for that, just to finish us off, a challenge. So
what about Martin? Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Martin. Yeah, Paul.
You can't forget about Martin.
Because he was
nobody knows it. Nobody cares. We'll just move on.
Stuart Grecian.
Yeah.
It's all right. We don't really have that many. Well, actually, we play in the championship, so like we don't even have that many smooth operators. We're all hatchet men.
Yeah,
so I could pick 22 names.
Yeah.
So there's too many to name.
Yeah, I was going to say you must have seen some like quite a lot of headbutts on a weekly basis, like down at Morton, like Duncan Ferguson style.
We don't get close enough to the opposition players to get headbutts in.
Yeah. Cool. So, just a quick challenge that put together just off the back of that. So I looked up who has the most red cards in English Premier League history. So there's 3 at the top, joint at the top on 8 red cards. So there's 3 of them. Can you guess who they are?
Is Granit Xhaka one of them?
Nope.
No.
Big Dunn.
Duncan Ferguson. Yep, he's there. He's not.
Richard Dunn.
Richard Dunn. Yep, Richard Dunn's one of them. School's
not.
Oh,
come on, gives a chance.
Yeah.
Keane.
Nope, Keane's not there.
Does Keane have 6?
Keane's got 6, yeah. So there's a bunch on 7, there's a bunch on 6. Keane's got 6. Steve got 8.
Joey Barton.
No, Joey Barton's not there.
Sorry, we're not meant to mention him. Gareth
Smith.
No.
I was going to say Gareth Barry, but that won't be right. James Milner's been around so long. It
sheer
could be
amount
him
of
just by
games, yeah.
default.
No, it's not James Milner.
Vieira.
Vieira, that's it. You've got 3.
Good shout.
Patrick Vieira, Duncan Ferguson, Richard Dunn, and if you look at red cards per game, Patrick Vieira is on top out of those 3. He's got more red cards per game than the other 2.
This is really random, but when we talked about Patrick Vieira, do you remember for a spell they had it was like a circle red card rather than a rectangle?
Yeah.
It's a really weird memory, but I remember like Sol Campbell getting sent off. I remember Vieira getting sent off with this like circle red card they had. I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah.
Does not remember that at all, man. No.
Do you remember it, Paul?
On the TV, you mean?
No, like the referees actually had a circular red card.
No.
I'm not making this up. This is a real thing.
They clearly must have done it once, realised it was a shit idea, and just binned it off immediately.
It just seemed to be Arsenal players they were sending off. Look at it, is there? If you can see my phone, Kieran Dyer's getting a circular red card.
What?
Oh, there's a proper circle as well, not like an oval.
It was. I remember that being a thing.
Yeah.
Do you reckon so they could throw it at the player? Do you reckon so they could throw it at the player if the player tried to run away before they were going to get it?
But there's quite a few images of it. I'm not making it up. That can be a topic next week. Circular red cards.
I was going to say that's like
I'm sure that'll be a bit.
It's like the opposite of that, isn't it? Yeah. No one remembers it.
Couldn't fit in their pocket. That's why they got rid of it. You know?
Yeah.
I'm picking that one for next month.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so we'll bring things to a close. So thanks everyone. Thanks Neil and David for coming on. It's been great having you on the podcast.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, just before we go, do you want to give your podcast a wee plug? Tell people where they can find you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So we're at We Needed Roads podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Basically, search for us. You'll see our logo looks about 20% like the Back to the Future one, just so we don't get sued. Our theme music is recorded by a mate. Again, we said write a song that sounds like The Power of Love, but just 20% less, so we don't get sued. And we've got that in there as well. And we try and release episodes every 2 weeks. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up soon. We got a film director interview coming up. We're trying to get some actual guests in the industry on soon, which would be nice, as opposed to just us giggling idiots on there all the time. And we can find us on the socials. I run our Twitter at Needed Roads because I forgot the we, so it's just Needed Roads on Twitter. David occasionally logs into Instagram and remembers we have one and posts the links to the episodes on there. And that's it. We're pretty much everywhere. So check us out.
Brilliant.
David?
Yeah, follow us. Sorry, my dog was barking. He'd done so well all episode, and then just decided to have a barking fit as you were plugging, Neil.
And why did we start the podcast, David? Why did we start the podcast? To get super yachts.
Ah, yes.
Apparently that's what happens. You get super yachts, and then it's like Step Brothers. It's the whole point of doing a podcast.
And has Neil froze in a really funny position for anybody else?
Yes, I have.
Brilliant.
David, I think your dog's just a big fan of the circular red cards.
He's well up for it.
I thought it was Paul. I thought it was Paul's dogs. To be fair,
no,
it's actually surprising it isn't.
He's the loudest sausage dog in existence.
See, just before, I'd like to say that Gary's done a stand-up job hosting his first episode, and it's like he's been playing in that position all his life.
Absolutely.
I love the call-ups earlier on where we had the follow us here, you can find us here, all that sort of stuff that you were popping up. Bring it up again. Let's show the people.
There you go.
There we go. Look at that. Wow.
Instagram.
Just need people to watch your YouTube now.
Yeah, my day job's a video editor, which is why we don't do video, because it would be too much like doing the day job.
Yeah, I've been practicing that since about 9 o'clock this morning. So
you've smashed it anyway, Gary.
Colin, Paul, do you want to plug any film reviews coming up?
We just did the Simpsons movie, which was a lot of fun. Paul, we did a trivia contest, and Paul lost on the tiebreaker, which was fun to watch. I think Neil's
To
either
be
really
fair,
shocked.
I was bloody robbed, but never mind. We'll talk about that another time.
Neil's either really amazed that we did the Simpsons movie or he's frozen again. I'm not sure.
I can hear you guys. I'm just completely frozen for some reason.
What else have we done? We're doing it's my pick next week. We're doing what are we doing? What's it called?
Good Will
Forgotten the
Hunting.
name. Good Will Hunting
Oh, what a
next
film.
week,
Yeah.
which I'm looking forward to. And then we're doing Back to the Future, and then we're doing something that Paul's picked.
Pulp
Which
Fiction.
is Pulp Fiction. Yeah,
That's
so it's a good lineup this month.
Seen that
Good
one.
month, aye.
So yeah,
Brilliant.
looking forward to it.
And then Seismic Soccer number 7, the assassination of Joey Barton.
Can't wait for that
If you
one.
guys ever decide to do a Scream episode, it's my favourite film.
We've
I'm
done
there
it.
for
We've
it.
done
You've
we've
done a
done one
Scream
before, but we could do another one.
Yeah, got plenty of sequels to choose from.
Brilliant. Well, cheers, guys. See you next time. And
Right.
See you later. Cheers.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you.